A lot of very bad things, but he was a big drug pusher. You see that because all the boats that we shot down, they came out of Venezuela. A lot of drugs. There's a lot of boats and a lot of drugs. There are very few boats operating right now. There's almost no boats. You can't find any boats.
I don't think anyone would go fishing in those waters.
Not a lot of people want to go fishing anymore. But we've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming in by water. And we are going to start now hitting land with regard to the cartels. The cartels are running Mexico. It's very, very sad to watch and see what's happened to that country. But the cartels are running, and they're killing 250, 300,000 people in our country every single year. The drugs, it's horrible. It's devastated families. You know, you lose a child or a parent. I mean, parents are dying, too, with drugs. So we've done a really good job. We're knocking it down. The numbers are...
As his administration seeks to assert U.S. dominance in the Western Hemisphere, President Trump telling the New York Times the only thing that can limit his global power is his own morality.
Do you see any checks on your power on the world stage? Is there anything that could stop you if you wanted to?
Yeah, there's one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop.
But on the Hill, the Senate trying to reinforce guardrails. In a rare rebuke from Republicans, the Senate narrowly agreeing to move forward to a vote to curb the president's use of force in Venezuela. 5 Republicans crossing party lines and joining Democrats to try and block the president from being able to send troops into Venezuela or anywhere else without congressional approval.
This resolution is limited to Venezuela, and it says that for future armed hostilities, there needs to be congressional authorization.
Trump slamming his defectors, saying they should be ashamed for attempting to take away our powers to fight and defend the United States of America, and adding that those 5 Republicans should never be elected to office again. Trump has refused to rule out putting boots on the ground in Venezuela.
What would trigger a decision to send ground troops into Venezuela?
I wouldn't want to tell you that because, you know, I can't give up information like that to a reporter.
Now, the president this morning says he has canceled a previously expected second wave of attacks on Venezuela after they released a large number of political prisoners. And the president also announcing that he plans to meet here next week with Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Machado, though he has said he thinks it would be very tough for her to lead the country. But he is, though, he says, willing to accept her Nobel Peace Prize, which she has suggested she might be willing to share with him.
It's not the first time a US president has been interested in Greenland. Over 150 years ago, after the United States purchased Alaska from the Russians, the then Secretary of State, William Seward, floated the idea of buying Greenland and Iceland from Denmark. Even back then, Greenland was recognized for its wealth of minerals and resources. The purchase never materialized, but Greenland remained on the US radar. In 1910, the US ambassador to Denmark suggested the United States give Denmark an island in the Philippines in exchange for Greenland and the Danish West Indies. But that didn't happen either. By 1916, leaders signed the Lansing Declaration, a US proclamation saying that they would not dispute Denmark's control over the entire territory. But after World War II, US President Harry Truman offered Denmark $100 million in gold for Greenland. Denmark rejected the offer. The bid was secret at the time, but was made public in 1991 by a Danish newspaper after documents had been declassified 2 decades earlier. Despite the US not gaining control of Greenland, they were given permission to operate military bases, including the Thule Air Base, now known as the Pituffik Space Base, where they still have a presence of US forces.
But we need it really for international world security. And I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it.
While the world waits to see if President Trump's threats about Greenland come to fruition, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio is set to talk about buying Greenland, history has told us it may not be so easy.
These are some of the thousands of Congolese refugees who have come to Burundi from the Democratic Republic of Congo, from South Kivu province, where there has been fighting. In this camp, we're talking about 65,000 who are here. This camp is very new. It was opened in December following an escalation of violence. More than 90,000 people have crossed into Burundi over the past month, already facing serious internal pressures. The country is sheltering nearly 200,000 refugees.
I don't know when we are going back home. I pray for peace. I want her to go to school. I don't want her to keep fleeing.
The site itself is severely overcrowded. We have families that are sleeping in a very small tent, many of them. We have seen that there is no water, there is no proper shelters, people cannot get tents, there is insufficient food as well. So the situation is quite dire here. It's a rainy season now, so you can imagine when it rains, the tents flood. When we're here, it was actually raining. We have seen cases of waterborne diseases like cholera. 2 people have so far died because of cholera. Aid groups say they're running thin on resources and supplies.
There was this flash appeal. We barely have 10% of it so far. We got money from the emergency fund from the UN, and we got money from ECHO. So with the money from ECHO, we could improve the road to access the camp and start leveling the camp to build it.
A U.S. brokered peace agreement signed by the presidents of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda was intended to bring an end to the violence, but failed to stop the fighting. Across the border in eastern DRC, fighting is still continuing in South and North Kivu. More than 500,000 people have been displaced since December. Both sides, the rebels and the government, accuse each other of atrocities. Here, in this camp, the refugees who are the victims say they just want peace and they do not see any prospect of peace.
Here's a rule of thumb. When a country collapses, someone somewhere is getting rich. And in the case of Sudan, they have been in a constant state of collapse, which means that a lot of someones have been getting rich for a very long time. In my last video, I explained the history of the Sudan conflict. I gave you the timeline, the how behind what's going on. Now I want to give you the why. Regardless of how poor Sudan looks visually, Sudan is a gold mine. Whoever controls Sudan controls access to the Red Sea, which is a global trade route worth trillions of dollars. They also control the Nile River, which is literally Egypt's lifeline. They control the oil, the uranium, and they control the 3rd largest gold reserve in Africa. Sudan is like a wounded lion, being mercilessly picked apart by vultures. And the first vulture on that list is the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. The UAE is probably the largest financial backers of the RSF. And if you don't know who the RSF is, go watch my last video. So why does the UAE support the RSF? Because the RSF currently controls Sudan's gold mines. And these mines produce billions of dollars worth of gold every year. Billions. So keeping Sudan in a state of chaos benefits the UAE, because it allows them to bypass Sudan's central bank and purchase directly from Hamedi, the commander of the RSF, through his holding companies. The gold is then smuggled out of Sudan, melted down in Dubai's refineries, and then it's sold as Emirati gold. So the RSF gets a steady stream of money and weapons to keep fighting, while the UAE gets to be one of the largest gold exporters in the entire world. But like most countries exploiting Sudan, the UAE is playing both sides. The RSF owns most of the gold, but the SAF, the Sudanese Armed Forces, controls the coastline along the Red Sea. And having access to Sudan's coast means having control over trade routes, shipping lanes, and the flow of wealth throughout the entire region. So the UAE not only funds the RSF, they also fund the SAF by investing billions of dollars to build ports and trade zones all along Sudan's coast. So while the UAE, Hamedi and the RSF, and Al Burhan and the SAF all profit, the people of Sudan are left experiencing what can only be described as hell on earth. Then you have Egypt. Egypt is a bit different. Egypt exclusively supports the SAF. Actually, Egypt's support of Al Burhan and the SAF is primarily what gives them credibility as the legitimate de facto leader of Sudan. What Egypt wants is primarily to maintain access to the water that it receives from the Nile River. Sudan practically controls Egypt's entire source of water. The junction where the Nile River splits off and flows into Egypt is under SAF control. That junction is located in Sudan's capital of Khartoum. If the RSF were to take control of the capital and the distribution of water from the Nile River, Egypt risks losing its only water source for 110 million of its citizens. And Egypt has made it very clear that that is a red line that they are not willing to tolerate. So Egypt provides the SAF with weapons, they train their military, and they provide them with political cover to the international community. Egypt doesn't really care about Sudan becoming independent or powerful. They would actually prefer them to remain weak because it keeps them submissive, which ensures that they can never threaten to cut off Egypt's lifeline. Now enter China. China is actually doing something different. China could really care less who wins the war, or if no one wins the war at all.
1,000 days of war in Sudan has led to this, a catastrophe of displacement and starvation, with camps like this one in North Darfur scattered across the country. 70% of Sudan's population are now in dire need of aid. 30 million people. Many of the people in this camp have fled the regional capital, Al-Fashir, massacred by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces as they took control of it. This exclusive footage snuck out of Al-Fashir and shared with Sky News shows the empty, embattled city, eroded to ruin by bombs and bullets, a shell of the historic capital it once was. Many of the soldiers who defended Al-Fashir during an 18-month siege are now displaced themselves. Some have laid down arms and live in these camps in rebel-held territory, not untouched by the deprivation of war.
There were no instructions from top command. Everyone just scattered. Everyone had to save themselves. We don't know where the area commander left from, where the national intelligence left from, where the military intelligence left from. It was every man for himself.
Another soldier tells us they've not been contacted by the military after their mission in Al-Fashir ended in disaster.
We haven't seen a single thing from them. Nothing has been offered to us. We should ask God for this war to end. There's no benefit to us. We can only pray that it ends.
But the war in Sudan is likely to drag on. The country's been flooded with foreign weapons over the 1,000 days it's been raging. Videos shared by fighters online show the RSF using foreign equipment across Sudan, including sites of some of its more severe atrocities and key territorial gains. This video from October 2025 shows an armored vehicle during the RSF's capture of Al-Fashir, which left thousands killed and wounded.
I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former fucking veteran. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car.
Oh!
You have a federal law enforcement official engaging in federal law enforcement action. That's a federal issue. That guy is protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job.
I think he also asserted that because you work at the federal government that you somehow have absolute immunity from committing crimes. That's not true in any law school in America, whether it's Yale or Villanova or anywhere else. That's not true. If you break the law, if you do things that are outside the area of what your job responsibilities require, and this clearly seems to be at the very least, this is great. At the most is what you heard people say back here. This is a problem and it should be investigated.
Don't get used to any weather because we are going to be on quite the roller coaster through the weekend and into next week. This round of warmth will stick around for the east through Saturday before temps return back to the winter norm. But not for long. Almost the entire country will see temperatures soar above average again to start next week. In terms of precip, the system bringing that cool down will make for a wet Saturday for the east before moving out on Sunday. And then we're left with a nearly blank weather map. Your sign to get outside and enjoy those temps.
Chicago, why is it a thunderstorm and a flood warning in the middle of winter? Ain't nobody else concerned? This ain't bothering nobody else. On Christmas Day, it was 60 degrees. Today, it is January 8th, the middle of winter, and it's 50 degrees with a flood warning outside. Let me tell you something, I'm nervous. We worried about everything else. Worry about this weather. Whatever plans you thought you had for next year, all them New Year's resolutions, you better have them this year because ain't no next year. It's over with. This the last year. Because if the weather keep acting like this, they might as well call us the dinosaurs because this is it. We about to be extinct. I don't know why ain't nobody else worried about this, but I am. Which I'll say everything else is a distraction. This weather not.
We're hearing in the last 24 hours, nations have erupted and World War III warnings are now being issued to Donald Trump in the United States. Take a look at the latest headlines with me. You can see here, China and Russia demand that Trump releases Maduro as World War III fears grow. Russia slams Trump, vows to defend Venezuela as World War III fears erupt. World War III soon. You can see this coming out all over the headlines in the last 24 hours. Kim Jong-un enters the U.S.-Venezuela conflict, issues a stern message to Donald Trump, says, "Leave my friend or else." Trump triggers World War III in U.S.'s backyard. Venezuela FM rallies Latin American nations after Maduro's kidnapping, they say. Now, we are hearing that Donald Trump, he has issued warnings to various nations. Trump issues a threat against multiple countries following Venezuela's strike. And take a look. One of those was Colombia. Come and get me. The Colombian president's war of words with Trump now escalates. Cuba also faces an uncertain future after the U.S. topples Venezuelan leader Maduro. And take a look at this. Now, this is really concerning to NATO members. Trump weighs using U.S. military to acquire Greenland. The White House updated 14 minutes ago. And also, take a look at this. Mexico should indeed be concerned. Trump's threat rattles Mexican officials and businesses. And we are seeing just moments ago, Trump has announced that I am pleased to announce that the intermittent authorities in Venezuela will be turning over between 30 to 50 million barrels of high qualified sanctioned oil to the United States of America. So, man, there are so many headlines and so many nations that are starting to jump into the mix of what's happening with the United States and Venezuela, and there are World War III warnings left and right. Let me know your thoughts. Are we about to enter into World War III? If you think so, put a WW3 in the comments, as we're hearing that China, Russia, North Korea are responding to what's happening with the Venezuelan president. We're seeing other nations that are being threatened by the United States. There is a lot taking place, and NATO is concerned because that all nations band together when there is an opposing threat against one of the nations. But what if one of the nations is threatening another one of the nations as a part of the NATO alliance? So it is getting very concerning.
A hypersonic missile launch that can deal some serious blows. Russia's aiming for the grid escalation for the shows. They kill 4 people in the hit and water lines get froze. They said it's payback for the strike on Putin's house with the drones, but there was no evidence of that, and you have to wonder why. The fight's also a war of words, and action came back a lot. The missile isn't war changing, it's just costly to supply. The escalation's intimidation, a political message from the sky. Republicans broke ranks this week, a rare public divide. 5 senators flipped on Venezuela, told Trump more forces denied, and 17 switched their side to keep healthcare subsidized, and they all honor Capitol cops, Senate's all on one side. It matters cause midterms looming, the party's under strain. The new limits of America first are hard for all to explain. Trump calls for discipline, disloyalty comes with pain, but cracks inside the caucus show control isn't so plain. Amidst the crackdowns and deaths, siren shuts off the net. Phones go dark mid-March cause people got too upset. What started off about that became a movement event. Now 45 have been killed, they must be feeling the threat, so they kill access to info and hope to increase their control. Death will be harder to toll, that's the main part of the goal. Reza Pahlavi calls for action, but exile limits his role. The people's opposition movement has a leadership toll. The deal is about to be signed after 25 years of talks. A free trade deal between European and South American blocs. The EU and Mercosur will benefit from removing the locks and opening up their markets. Tariffs cut, what a shock. Some European states hesitate, but they don't have the votes. Cheap imports may come across, brought to Europe by boats, but with Trump turning the tariffs, trade's the only antidote. Cooperation helps the nations, and that you can quote.
Family, thank you for tuning into the channel. If you got anything out of this topic, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share as we continue to spread the truth. It definitely helps us to grow the channel. Also, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can be notified when we upload a new video. May the Most High bless you. And as always, shalom, shalom.